This is the Mi 10i. This is the first phone of the year 2021. And yep, this is indeed the rebranded Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G, which was launched a couple of weeks back in China. This is the Indian retail unit of the Mi 10i. I got this phone in the very first sale on Amazon for just Rs 20,900. In the box we get a silicon TPU case, some paperwork, then the phone itself, a USB Type-C cable, and a 33-watt charger which also supports PD charging. So yeah, very basic unboxing experience. Now while ordering the phone, I was a bit confused with the color. The product listing on Amazon doesn't justify the look of this phone. I got the Pacific Sunrise color and it looks much better in person than what you see in the product page. Now the phone has a matte texture at the back and it does feel quite premium while holding this phone. Also, it doesn't attract fingerprints as often as phones with a glossy back. The back of this phone is made out of glass and the side frame is of plastic. Phone has the similar footprint as the Poco M2 Pro. It weighs around 215 grams, which is same as the Poco X3, but for some reason it doesn't feel that heavy. Xiaomi has done a really good job in the weight distribution of this phone. So yeah, I am impressed with the design and build of this phone. Also, the provided case has a similar matte texture at the back, which also helps in for a better grip. The biggest highlight of this phone is its cameras. So it has a quad camera setup, a 108 megapixel Samsung HM2 sensor, an 8 megapixel wide angle camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. Except for the primary camera, I think all the three sensors are same as what you get in other budget Xiaomi phones. The primary 108 megapixel definitely seems good on paper, but again, difference isn't that huge compared to any other 64 megapixel sensor. Here's the side-by-side comparison of the Poco X3 and the Mi 10i's primary cameras. In daytime, there isn't any major difference at all. Even the 108 megapixel photos doesn't has any major difference compared to the 64 megapixel photos from the X3. The low light photos though are a bit brighter, but again not a huge difference. Now the wide angle camera of the Poco X3 is slightly bit better as it has a larger 13 megapixel sensor. It got more details and better dynamic range than the 8 megapixel sensor of the Mi 10i. It's still very early days with the phone and hopefully Xiaomi will optimize the camera in the future update. Now the second X factor of this phone is its processor. It comes with the Snapdragon 750G processor, which is a 5G enabled chip, but it supports only two bands, the N77 and the N78. These are one of the most commonly used bands across the world, and as of now we don't know which bands will make its way to India, as there hasn't been any spectrum auction of 5G in India as of yet. But most likely N77 and N78 will be supported, so you shouldn't be worried about that. Now 750G on paper seems to be a faster chip than the 765G, but practically it is slower as we have seen in most of the speed test videos. But again, it's too early and most likely performance will get better with updates. Now I used the Poco M2 Pro and the X3 in the past and I feel it is on par with both the phones. 750G has Adreno 619 GPU, which is just an incremental upgrade over this Adreno 618 found in 730G phones. So the gaming performance is quite similar to the Poco X3 and the M2 Pro. The RAM management though is not up to the mark. It closes apps too frequently in the background. So yeah, lots of optimization need to be done and hopefully they will fix this in the future update. Next up we had the display. So we had the 6.67 inch IPS Full HD Plus 120Hz display. It's the same panel which you get on the Poco X2 and the Poco X3. But here you also get the adaptive refresh rate, in which phone switches the refresh rate based on your usage to conserve some battery. Though this sounds pretty good for battery, but due to fluctuation of refresh rate, you will notice some lag. I think they should have provided an option to turn it off. That would have made much more sense. As for the display quality, you get a really good IPS panel. Color looks vibrant, display gets plenty bright, plus there is an HDR10 support, although it only works in the Prime Video and YouTube. Not only that, we have the stereo speaker setup, which gets plenty loud, and surprisingly, it gets ample amount of bass too. Plus we have a DAC support, so the audio experience with headphone is just next level. So yeah, it's a pretty great phone for the media consumption. Although an addition of an AMOLED display would have made it a perfect phone for media. Now before moving further, I will suggest you to hit the subscribe button for more amazing tech videos. The Mi 10i comes with the 4820 mAh battery. I ended the day with around 6 hours of screen on time with 25% battery still left, which is pretty awesome considering the refresh rate is set to 120Hz. I think it did a commendable job. Also, the phone does come with 33-watt charger support, which can refill your battery in just under an hour. So yeah, you shouldn't be worried about the battery of this phone. The fingerprint sensor feels a tad bit slower for me. That might be because of MIUI animation. Call quality, network reception, everything seems okay to me. There isn't any major issues. So does Mi 10i justifies its 21,000 rupees price tag? I mean, yeah, it's a great phone, but it doesn't have anything extraordinary, a groundbreaking feature which will make it a special phone. 108 megapixel camera felt like a marketing gimmick. 5G is here just for the sake of it. I think if you want a phone which has a good camera and has a 5G support, then you can go with the Mi 10i. But if you're okay with 4G, I think Poco X3 or even the Realme 7 Pro, which got an AMOLED display too, would be a great phone to buy. Or you can wait for 1 month or so for the Redmi Note 10 series or the Realme X7 series, as they were recently spotted at certification sites. Okay, that's been it. If you have any question, feel free to comment down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until then, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one.